Hey guys, what's up? It's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. Hey guys, I'm kind of taking my makeup off right now, and me and Nate just got back from the playground, and I thought, what a great time to jump on Hey Classy Bitch and talk with you guys about life and relapse prevention and recovery. Hey girl, hey. Listen, sometimes I think, girl, classy bitch, sometimes I think, should I go back and take those down? Because I know sometimes I just take it to the next level, but it's like I need you guys to understand, like, the state of mind I was in when I was doing those things was because I was high a lot of the times. And a lot of the times I would see stuff that wasn't there. Hey girl, hey Jonah. Like, there's one story time that I will never forget. Like, every time I think about it, like, I remember how bad I was hallucinating. And it was when I saw Cy from Duck Dynasty. I had been up for about 17 days. I'm sure it was a long time, you guys. Oh, it was about almost 2 weeks I'd been up without any sleep. And I hadn't slept. I had been doing meth and Roxy's and just all kinds of stuff. And my friend gave me one of those sleeping pills, Seroquel, and it threw me into full-fledged hallucinations. It was horrible. It was so scary. Okay. But I was just trying to record a story time easier earlier today. Listen, shadow people, we call them here where I live, they're called the Nanichis. And those are what the shadow people are. And it's like I think it might be like a old Indian term, but they're called Nanichis. So, but let me just, I'm going to wash my face and talk to you guys about, life. So, I don't know if you guys watched the live stream this morning. Girl, I've called the police on myself 4 times, I think. Twice I went to the emergency room, and twice they just came and was like, girl, look at me crazy. But a couple of times, like I said, I've been to the emergency room because I needed to go to the hospital because I was so, like, messed up from being up. Hey, Jason. So, today's been a pretty good day. You know, it's a short week because I have Thanksgiving. So we're going to go to my parents' house on Wednesday. And I love turkey, y'all. I cannot wait to eat turkey. After the holidays pass by, though, y'all, I'm getting into my fitness. And we're going to start, like, documenting that together. And y'all are going to have to help me, okay? Because I want to get serious about getting in shape and get my body back. Now, I know it's not going to be the same as when I was younger, but I can get, you know, some of it back. Oh, thank you, Jason. I'm serious. Like, I used to have, like, a whole system down, and I would go walking every day, and I would eat 1,200 calories a day, which I don't know if that's enough, but because I was real hungry, but I did it, and that's how many calories I would take in, and I lost so much weight. That was, like, before I had my son, I lost 65 pounds, because when I had gotten out of prison, I had gained, like I said, about 70 pounds while I was in prison, because all they do is feed you, like, carbohydrates, you know, and, like, bread. And then, like, me and the girls, we would make these things they called spreads. And the way you make them is with ramen noodles and tortillas and chips and chili and just canned cheese. Hey, Money Stacks, what's up? So, we would make, you know, these spreads is what they call them. It's a prison dish. And if you've been to prison or jail or county, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it is really good, you guys. And we would roll it up, and it would be like really big, a roll, and it have all that stuff inside of it. And then we would cut it, you know, we'd heat it up in the microwave. We'd do the noodles, drain the noodles, get the cheese, spread the stuff all over the tortilla, and then put the noodles on there, and then put the Doritos on there, and then the cheese, and then some beans, and then roll it up like that. And we could cut it and like half it between us. Right. So whenever I got out of prison, after eating those spreads for a whole year, we would eat those things every Saturday night, y'all, and we would have movie night, because the kind of prison I was in, it was like a therapeutic community style prison. So we weren't in cells. We were like on racks, and a rack is like a bunk bed. And so when you went inside the unit, you'd walk in and there would be like a little living room with a TV. Not a living room, but like just an open space. There would be bathrooms, and there would be this wide bedroom with like 50 racks. They were big units. And we would all sleep in there together. And there would be like 60 to 100 girls per unit. And I worked in the laundry when we were there. And so I would wake up every morning at like 3 a.m. and do the whole compound, which is all the units' laundry. But I gained a lot of weight there, and we marched everywhere we went like we were in the military. It was crazy, y'all. But it was just an experience. I don't even know why I'm talking about prison. So oh, that's what I want to talk to you guys about. So I was talking to this lady last night who she coaches people to become recovery coaches. And so we got into this huge debate back and forth, because I was asking her if they were state accredited and nationally certified. And the thing about it is they're not, because there's no governing, there's no board over that area of work. Like, there's the only people that will pay you to be their recovery coach right now is like very wealthy people or celebrities. Okay, so because a recovery coach is basically just a bona fide sponsor, and you can get that for free in AA. But there are some people that are high profile. Maybe they're doctors or lawyers. Maybe they're famous, and they want like one-on-one coaching or one-on-one sober companions, like sober best friends that just are paid to go places with them. So this lady that owns this academy, she is training people to do that. And so the only way though they'll be able to get work is, like I said, if they know someone famous, basically, right? So there are a lot of people that think that they can use those certificates to go other places, and they can't use them to work at any places in their states, because they're not recognized through the state. Okay, so we talked, and I was trying to, you know, understand, like, well, if you can't use them for that, then what are they good for? And I mean, they're good for, like I said, if you have connections to people that are high profile, but a lot of us don't. So to just go through the states and get your, you know, if you want to work in treatment and help other people with recovery, the best thing to do is to go through the state that you live in and do it through a state accredited school. So I was kind of looking up stuff, you guys, about like recovery coaching. Hey, Leah. And relapse prevention while I was kind of trolling around reading about recovery coaching. I fell upon some stuff about relapse prevention. And what I'm always trying to like find or read or school myself, kind of teach myself new stuff to come and tell you guys about. So I was reading up about some relapse prevention because I have some packets and stuff that I printed out that have just like tips on things to look for that you could be struggling or exhibiting before a relapse. So I thought we could talk about that. And you know what? And I could literally, listen, this is how the deal is. Right now, there's no regulations, right? So I could call myself a recovery coach right now. And nobody could say, hey, you're not a recovery coach, because I have the experience. I have the lived in experience of getting sober and living in recovery for 3 years. But in 2019, the next year, they're passing laws to where there are going to be like regulations, and you'll have to meet certain requirements. So it's really smart to like go through the state that you live in and get your license and go to school for it, because that's where you make money if you're going to help people in this field. Is you want to get a license. And so I don't know if I have told you guys recently about my friend here on YouTube. He is a licensed clinical psychologist, and he runs a treatment center called Favor Greenville. I think it's in North Carolina or South Carolina. I can't remember. But his YouTube channel is called Recovery Cartel. And you guys have got to check him out. His name is Richard Jones, and he puts up videos of the classes he does at the treatment center. They're called family groups. You guys have got to check it out. The channel's called Recovery Cartel. Yeah, Nate? What? I love you too, buddy. I'm right here. So, I'm serious. Like, he's certified. He'll tell you his license number. I mean, he's the real deal. He has nothing to hide. And I look up to him so much, you guys. So when I was trying to find out about these other people, if they were certified, he messaged me and told me, you know, the reason people get a... Okay. Well, what do you want me to do, babe? You got to check it out. Okay.
Mommy, I'm not going to.
Okay, well, go real fast and I'll come in there and get you done. You want me to charge this? So, Recovery Cartel. What did I say it's called? Recovery Cartel, right? Okay, yeah. Recovery Cartel. Yeah. Oh, man, why am I... Okay, yeah. I was like, I'm forgetting. So, Relapse Prevention. So, this is what I was reading about. I was reading about how before a relapse, there's things that will happen in our mind. It's like not even us, it won't even be something about us thinking about drugs. And in my experience, this has been true, because that's what I do. I read this stuff and I try to think back to a real life experience I've had. So a lot of the times what will happen is we'll have stressors in our life, or we'll have something that takes priority.
I was looking for this guy.
Oh, you found him. Now go poo poo. I feel your tummy. It's hard. Go poo poo. Thank you, baby. I knew you. Good boy. So, okay. So we have to identify those stressors in our life, and if we can eliminate some of the stressors that we have going on, like for instance, for me, it would be,
I'm not doing it.
And then it would be my job.
I'm not doing it.
And then maybe my relationship with my husband. Make sure that, like, what I do is I come home and we have our own time when I come home. Me and Neil, to where we can sit down, and when he gets off work, when my son's already asleep, we can sit down together and we can talk. And we can talk about how his day was at work. We can talk about how my day was at work. But we have a designated time when we both are off work and our son's asleep, or we can have grown-up talk time. And what we have worked out is that, okay, so when we used to start talking, and excuse my son's room, it's a freaking wreck, you guys. Look at all these toys. But when we first started doing it, I would get so excited, and he would be trying to talk to me, right? And trying to share with me what he's going through, and I would talk over him, or I would get excited and I would be like, well, see, you need to tell them people at your job that they need to listen, and blah, 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 and I'd get all excited. And I wouldn't listen to what he was saying. So now, like, I make sure that I don't answer back. I don't talk over him. I just listen. And that helps, like, okay, for us, with me and Neil, because he's very quiet. Like, in our relationship, you guys, I am the more, like, I share everything. I cry about things. I have, like, really big feelings. Okay, so, and listen, Money Stacks, it helps a lot, especially if you're in a relationship. And if you're both in recovery, it helps so much, because this gives Neil a chance while we're sitting down. If he's struggling, he can open up to me, and if I'm struggling, I can open up to him. And the more that we practice doing this each evening together, I feel like the more that we're, like, coming together, and, like, it's really, at first it felt like it was forced, you know, but now it's like, yeah, I am. Now it's like I feel like we both look forward to having our grown-up talk time, because most of the time we're spending so much time together with our son that we don't really have that time to connect with each other. So it really helps a lot to relieve both of those stresses in our lives if we can sit down and have that grown-up talk time together. And I have learned to stop and just listen, which has been so hard for me, you guys, because I'm a fixer. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are too. It's like I hear something that's maybe going wrong at his job, or maybe because he's a manager there, maybe some of the employees aren't listening like they should, and I automatically start thinking of ways that he should fix it or I can fix it. And the only thing that our partners want from us, Nathaniel, hush. The only things that our partners want from us is that support and that listen, you know, because he knows what he's doing at his job, you know what I mean? So that helps both of us to kind of like just lay everything out on the table. And the reason also I've been kind of wanting to look up stuff about relapse is because I was talking with Roberta on her page the other day, because she had made a video after she had her slip, and she was talking about how she felt. And I was really, really thinking about it, you guys. I don't think that when somebody relapses, it means they don't want to be sober. I don't think that it means they don't want recovery. What I think it is just what it says it is. It's a momentary lapse in our judgment, where our brain forgets how bad it was when we were in our addiction. So what we do is we relapse, go back to the substance, do it again, and we realize, damn, now I remember. Because what it does is it brings that back into our memory, how shitty it was. Because how do we feel after we relapse? We feel like dog shit. We feel ashamed. We feel guilty. We feel embarrassed. We feel shitty because we lost all that time we had built up. I know that's what I used to feel like a lot. I used to think, damn, I threw all that time away for nothing. You know what I mean? For what? For a temporary fix. So what I think it is I don't think that people that relapse don't want to be sober. I think what happens is they do not remember how it was, and they need to remember. So they go out and they pick up and they remember. Because I'm telling you right now, there is a line in the big book, and it says that we could not bring into our minds with sufficient enough force the memory of a month or even a week ago. That's how cunning, baffling, and powerful alcohol and drugs are, you guys. They will make you forget that you were homeless shooting up behind the dumpster last week. The drugs and the alcohol will make you forget that your wife walked out and said, I will not be with you anymore if you continue on drinking. Drugs and alcohol will make you forget that when you get high and you use them and you try to go to your job, that you will get fired and lose your job. It's like this. It's like almost like this cloud comes over our eyes, and I'm telling you, it's that euphoric recall. It's the memories of only the good times. And I'm telling you this too. Practicing bringing into our minds the bad times. And I know it sounds like, are you serious, Nicole? But like, I always think about what it was like when I was in my active addiction. I'm telling stories to you guys about it. I don't focus on it to where I'm shaming myself, but I will never forget it. I will never forget the incomprehensible demoralization that I experienced because of my drug addiction. I will never forget being naked as a jaybird in my apartment with God and everybody walking in and out while I am incoherent, not conscious, you know? Because what our mind, your brain is on a loop. This is how it works. And I'm going to explain this to you, Jason. I'm glad you're here tonight. Our brains are on a loop. And the way the loop goes is trigger, thought, obsession, use. Okay? So we get triggered, then we think about it. Thinking about it's okay. If you can change your thought right then and move on to the next one, you're going to be all right. But once you venture over into obsessing and planning out how you're going to get high, then you're almost guaranteed you're going to relapse. I mean, once you cross over into obsession, you're on your way. You're driving to the dope man's house. You're driving to the pill man's house. You're calling your girlfriend that's got the script. All right? And that's how the loop goes. It goes trigger, thought, obsession, use. And then once you use, that's when those cravings kick in. Well, girl, Vegas, you can do it, girl. You can do it. But what you have to do is set yourself a taper time and then get yourself a date that you're going to cut off and jump. And tell somebody else. Say, hey guys, this is it. I want to get off hydros and I'm gonna do this, and I'm making myself a taper, and this is the date I want to jump off. And then have other people help you stay accountable. Because you can't, it's impossible to do it on your own. You've got to tell somebody else. Because what happens is when we try to do it on our own, we'll go, oh, well, just one more. Nobody will ever know, you know? And that's why, well, then, you know, with hydrocodone, you could just jump off and you should be out of the withdrawals by at least 3 or 4 days, girl, and you'll be right back on track. You'll be all right. And you can do it. Do it now while you're only on hydrocodone, because if you trade over to other opiates that are longer acting opiates, then that's when it really gets hard. So save yourself some trouble and do it now, girl. You can do this. Do not be afraid. First of all, don't be afraid. The holidays are coming up. It's the perfect time because you'll have some days off. It's the perfect time. And that's the thing, okay, with the mind, we're going to have that depression, we're going to have that anxiety, but those diarrhea, throwing up, sweats, colds, all that stuff, you should be, you know, I think with me, at least for my experience, with hydrocodone and opiates that are short acting like that, like within 7 days, I was not feeling those hard withdrawals anymore, you know? Yeah, see, Jason says, you can do it. And that's the thing, like, what's going to happen, Vegas, and I know you probably heard this before, is it's okay. If you're not ready or you're just not there yet, that's okay. But keep coming back and keep hanging out with us and keep thinking about recovery. Because eventually you're going to say, I can't do this anymore, and you're going to make the change. But until then, stick around, girl. 10 a day. I remember those days. That's hardcore, girl. That's tearing up your liver too, and because it's got that acetaminophen in it too. I'm telling you, I remember those days. I used to take 7 or 8 at a time when I was on hydros, just all at one time. Look, I could take a bottle of 30 in a day, like easy. 10, those Norco 10s, easy. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, lay down right here and I'll rub your back.
But I'm not going to poo-poo.
Yeah, but listen to me. That's how addiction is. It is a progressive illness. Okay, you might be taking 10 now. I promise you, if you keep on at this rate, in a couple more months, you'll be at 20. And then, you know what will happen? Then those will stop working. And then you'll be on heroin. By day 9, all hydros are relapsed. Smoking fentanyl all day. And see, that's the thing, Vegas Barbie, is once this addiction, you might just be on hydros right now, and that's still a big deal. Like that's not that's a horrible thing. But you progress and get worse and worse. Here's how it works out. With addiction, it's a progressive illness. It gets worse, never better. Each time I would get sober and then go back and relapse, I would pick up where I left off, and I would get higher and more drugs in me each time. So I'm telling you, you're worth it. You don't have to live your life on pills anymore. Like, if you want to change and you want to get off, you can do this. And it's going to be difficult, and you're going to feel like shit. But the thing is, you have support here. We have tapped into a resource here, you guys. We have built a fellowship here on YouTube. And I'm telling you something right now. We're all here for each other. It's amazing. I was talking to my mom about it. And I was crying, y'all, because I was like, you don't understand, Mom. We have a family.
Mommy, you can itch it now. You can itch it.
I know. It's because you're feeling stuff now, Jason.
Mommy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because you're feeling now. And that's what happens. When we get off the drugs, it's like all of our feelings, they come in like, it's like our nerve endings are exposed, and everything that touches us is like, you know what I mean? It's like you can feel it. And I've been, just so you know, Jason, I've been crying for 3 years, babe. So welcome to the crying club. It is just, I cry thinking about how you guys are so awesome. I cry about...
Well, you better not cry again.
Okay. Nate says we better not cry again, you guys.
Wait. Let's say hello to the little guy.
What's his name?
Ryan.
Ryan? Okay. So, Ryan, I got him. So, it just... I think that when we were in our addiction, we were afraid to cry. And we were afraid to be vulnerable. Because maybe we thought people were going to judge us. Or maybe we thought that being, crying was a sign of weakness. But it's not. It's not. It's so... When I cry, I always feel so good when I get off of a live stream with you guys. Especially if I had a good cry while I was on there. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's probably one of the best things that I've ever done was opening up to people that had the same struggles as me. Oh, hey, Ronnie and Anna. Well, we're just talking about, Vegas Barbie's been going through it. She wants to get off hydro, so we were kind of talking about that. And then also we were talking about relapse prevention. And I was just kind of talking to you guys about some of the things that me and Neil have been working on about communication and talking with each other every, evening when Nathaniel goes to sleep. Because we're trying to build like a communication between the two of us to where he can feel comfortable enough to come talk to me if he's struggling with triggers or the want to use. And that's what I was going to say about the other thing about what I was talking about. I don't think when somebody relapses, it doesn't mean they want to be sober. I really think it just it is what it says it is. It's our brain forgetting. It's that our brain forgetting what it was like when we were in our addiction. So we pick back up to remember. And then we're like, oh yeah, I remember. You know what I mean? It's also like a way that we're screaming out. It's also a way that we're kind of reaching out for help. Like with Rockin' Roberta, I'm going to tell you guys because we're friends. Okay. And I know you guys follow her. What I notice with my friends, if they have a slip like that, a lot of the times they will separate themselves from me and not call me as much as they normally would, or not message me like they normally would. And then when they do reach back out, it's like, okay, this is what happened. And it's always when somebody starts pulling away or isolating themselves from what they do to stay sober. Like maybe, for me, it would be like coming on here and making videos. If you guys didn't see me every day, at least once a day, then you might need to be worried. Like, is Nicole okay? Is she on the right track still? Is she falling back in her old behavior? Because that is a sign of that isolation. And what I usually do to stay sober is, like I said, is you guys are this working with you guys and teaching you the things that I know already, and then us learning things together is probably one of the greatest assets I have here in my recovery. Then being able to talk with my sponsor and other women in recovery, that is also a huge deal. And then my spiritual relationship with my higher power, which is God. And that's just me and him. You know, and I also want to talk to you guys, like, when I first got sober, I thought I couldn't talk to God. I didn't know how to pray. I was afraid that when I prayed to him, it wasn't going to be good enough. Because the kind of God that I thought, I thought that God was a God that was disciplining and that was mad and would punish me for doing wrong. And I didn't realize that God is a forgiving, loving, and tolerant God. You know, I looked at him more as a authoritative figure and a disciplinarian. And now I know that he just wants my friendship. He just wants to have a one-on-one relationship with me. So I really do make sure that in the morning I talk with God, and in the evening I talk with God, you know. And sometimes in the middle of the day while I'm at work, I'll talk to him because maybe something will, you know, come into my mind and I'll think, you know, but I always talk to him in the morning and the night. And that helps me stay sober. So communication, open lines of communication with your support system, a spiritual relationship with your God of your understanding, okay? Letting go of our pride, okay? Squashing the pride and the ego. And when we're struggling, you guys, and we're starting to feel ourselves, because this is the thing. Now that we're sober, this is where the self-awareness is going to start coming into play. And I want you guys to start trying to see if you have tapped into that yet. Because you will. Once this sobriety, like, really starts coming, you're starting to get into your recovery, and you're starting to look at the actions that you were doing when you were in your addiction and trying to figure out why you were using drugs. Because usually we didn't just say, oh, you know what, I'm going to be a drug addict today. Usually we got high behind something. Maybe we had trauma, pain, resentment, anger. You know, like, we all got high behind something else. And we hid those feelings with the drugs. So yeah. So pride and ego, if we can step away from that and kind of look around, get ourselves out of the pride and ego, step outside of yourself. Like, I'm talking the inside Nicole, step outside of the bodily Nicole and look at myself from the outside looking in. Okay? That's that self-awareness. All right? And where you're like, okay, I feel myself isolating. Okay, I feel myself pulling away from the group and not being open about how I'm feeling. Do y'all understand what I'm saying now? And I have gotten to a point where I can see myself when I'm going back. And sometimes I won't catch it when it's happening, but I'll catch it right after and I'll say, oh, that was a bad week for me. I'm struggling. And that's when y'all will hear me say, like, oh, I'm struggling this week. I'm feeling insecure about myself. Or a lot of the times I feel pretty good. But like last night when I was talking to that lady and she was like saying all these big words and she seemed so educated, and her husband had called me uneducated and said these things that kind of made me feel insecure, and I started second guessing myself. And so when I was talking to her on the phone, I felt myself kind of second guessing myself. Am I smart? Do I know what I'm talking about? And it was because she has that better, that better grammar than I do, the speaking better than I do, and the big words better than I do. And so I caught myself kind of like cowering down and kind of feeling insecure. And then I had to snap myself out of it. And now that I look back on it, I'm like, girl, you know this. You know addiction. You know recovery. Don't let anybody come in and tell you, because I know there's always room to learn, but it was almost like, you know, when somebody kind of knows that you're, I'm a country girl, I'm from the South. It was almost kind of made me feel like they were trying to kind of make me feel less than. And that's the kind of how I felt about it, But I have to check myself, you guys, because I know that that's just me. Nobody can take away anything from me today. I've worked hard for my recovery, and I've worked hard to learn about addiction. I've worked hard to build relationships with the people that I make videos for. I've worked hard to share every bit of my life with you guys, like being absolutely transparent. You guys help me stay sober, because I think about that a lot. I think about if I would have to come on and say I relapsed. That would be the hardest thing in the whole wide world for me to do. And I don't want to have to do that. So that's a real big, pushing me forward in my recovery. You guys help me stay sober, because I am so excited about being sober and having my life back that it would be so hard. And so I have respect for people like Roberta, who I know, and that's the thing, there's no shame, but I know what that struggle is about. What that is, you guys, it's struggle with surrender. When we have 1 foot in sobriety and 1 foot in addiction, we're doing the tug of war. Okay? And what has happened is we still have those reservations to use. We still have that thought in our mind that maybe, just maybe, I can use and not have negative consequences and feel good about it the next day. And that is the lack of surrender. When you finally surrender and you wave that white flag and you say, I can never use again, that's what will happen. It will come down the middle, and you will no longer do the tug of war. And it's I'm going to tell you right now, I know you're probably going, well, you're on Suboxone. You guys, I'm telling you, I have been there to where I felt like I was in this tug of war, because I would go back to shooting dope, and then I would get sober, and then I would get back to shooting dope, and then I would get sober. I'm telling you, being on Suboxone and being in the program that I'm in, this is my sober. One day I might get off Suboxone, but for right now, this is the soberest I've ever been in my life. You know what I mean? So this is me sober. And so I have totally surrendered, and I know that I can never use again. And I'm okay with that. Now, listen, I didn't used to be okay with it, because that's why I kept going back out. All these relapses that I tell you guys story about, all these things I tell you about me going back to the old life. Hey, Jordan, these are all stories of me struggling with that surrender and that acceptance. I didn't want to accept that I was a drug addict. I didn't want to surrender and admit that I could no longer use, that my life was unmanageable. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to still get high. I still wanted to have 1 foot in addiction and 1 foot in recovery. I wanted to have all the benefits of recovery, but I still wanted to dabble. You know what I mean? And so finally, I fucking surrendered, and I went and got help for real. And that's when all this has begun. And this has been the last 3 years of my life. But so that's why I'm saying, I don't think that it's not somebody wanting to be sober. I think it's the two sides of them. You know how, were we talking about that the other day? It was in our meditation, where there's a good side and a bad side. And our bad side is the drunk and the addict. And our good side is us sober and doing the right thing. And so there's a tug of war. It's almost like good against evil. That's what it's like when you're in your addiction and you've kind of been doing the back and forth. That's what it's like. It's a war with our souls against good and evil. And whatever side we feed the most, if I'm out there relapsing and feeding my addiction, the addiction side will win. But if I'm over here feeding my recovery, getting in here and talking with you guys, sharing my experience, strength, and hope, spreading the message, helping others get sober, taking care of my son, doing things for my family, doing the Thanksgiving, that's feeding the recovery side. And the more I feed that side, the stronger it's going to get, the stronger it's going to get. And I won't go and get pulled over to that side anymore. Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. Us drug addicts, we are two-sided people. And when we get sober, we come into our one side. We come into our wholeness of person. Like now that I'm sober and working a program and living my life clean, this is I am whole again. But when we're in our addiction, we are mangled. We are stripped. We are not whole. We have our side over here and the side over here, and we're just torn apart. So when we can come back together and both sides meet, and the recovery side takes this and covers the addiction and just soaks it up, and all those good things that you're doing, all the positive affirmations, all the meditations, all the doing the next right thing, all the meetings, all the therapy, it overwhelms the addiction, but if we don't continue feeding the recovery, and it's overwhelming the addiction, and it's like the blob over it and just covers it. If we stop feeding the recovery side, what's going to happen? It's going to slowly shrink and slowly shrink and slowly shrink and slowly shrink until the addiction starts getting bigger than the recovery. So y'all hear me? It's forever. It's a process. There's no destination. There is no end. There is no finish line. Like these 4 walls, you're not going to be out of the withdrawals and feeling good and be done. Now, this is where all the inside work happens, and you have to continually feed your recovery side, so that way your recovery can stay stronger than that addiction. Because I'm telling you right now, that addiction side is inside of all of us. And what it's doing is it's waiting. It's waiting for the time where you feel inadequate. It's waiting for the time when you feel not good and you're struggling. Maybe you roll your ankle when you're walking in from the snow and your ankle's hurting and you're in a lot of pain. That's when the addiction will strike. That's when those thoughts will say, well, I've been sober for this long. What's one little hydro going to do? That's how this addiction works. So we have to constantly be working towards recovery and constantly be working on our inside and building ourselves up. I always thought that I think, Leah, you've been here and y'all have heard me say this before, but I always thought I was so confident. Give me a pill, motherfucker. And listen to me, like, this is what I had to do, because it's hard, especially when because what our minds do with prescription medications is we start finding these justifications and rationalizations. Like, I have legitimate pain. I should be able to take these. Oh, if I only take them as prescribed. And then what your mind's going to tell you is, oh, I can give them to my family. My family will give them to me as prescribed. But I'm telling you right now, if you're a real addict and you've really got that disease in you, it won't last. It will not last. You will get those pills from your parents. You will start taking them. In fact, you'll let them hold those pills because you will go buy pills from somebody else. And they'll think you're taking them as prescribed, but really you're manipulating and eating pills from somebody else. I'm telling you right now, I know what your brain wants because your brain is used to that instant gratification. Your brain is used to saying, I don't like the way I'm feeling right now. Now let's go get something to make me feel good. And you do it. But what you have to do is you have to interrupt that loop, that trigger thought obsession use. You have to interrupt that loop. If you're in those thoughts right now and you're obsessing over that, you got to change the thought. Change your thinking. Think. What did pills take from you? What have they prohibited you from doing? What has being on high doses of Percocet done to you for your life? Has it kept you from being with your family? Has it kept you from being social? Has it kept you from having relationships? Have you had accidents or hurt or harm? Think about those things, because those are the things that are going to help you to change those thoughts. It's so important to work on changing those thinking patterns. And remember, like, if you're feeling and you're thinking about using, remember that trigger, thought, obsession, use, craving, okay? You can't crave drugs unless you've put them in your body today. So if you're thinking about them, that's all it is. That's all it is a thought. Change your thoughts. Go to church. Call your best friend. Get online and make a video. Go outside for a jog. Play with your animals. Go hang out with your mom. Take a hot bath. Go get a hammer and hammer a nail into your arm. That'll make you stop thinking about it. I'm just like, but seriously, it's thought-stopping techniques, you guys. I know it sounds so lame, but these are the things that we have to do when we're in early recovery, because that vicious cycle that I just told you guys about, the trigger, thought, obsession, and then pick up, use. If you can stop trigger, thought, if you can stop at the thought and turn your thinking around there, you will save yourself from a relapse. But if you go into obsession and you're thinking about how you're going to do it and where you're going to get it from, I'm telling you, it's really hard to turn around from that. So if you can stop it at the thought, that's the best way to catch it. It's like when we get sober, you guys, it's so much different than when we're in our addiction, because now we have to really start paying attention to, like, everything that goes on in our minds. When we were in our addiction, we were just like on autopilot, you know what I mean? And that's why I think Jason, like, this being in the group with us, because I know I remember you sharing about, you know, being in your house and stuff like that and not liking to leave. That's why I think, like, having an accountability group like this is really going to help you, because if you can be honest with us and have no fear, like, if you can come in here and say, girl, I've been thinking about taking pills all day long, and no shame, just say it. Nobody's going to judge you here. We've all thought about that. You know, what was I thinking? Okay, so the other day I had this dream, and it was, oh my God. It was one of those dreams when I used to get high, and it was like with me, and I used in the dream, and when I woke up, it was like my heart was beating so fast. And I thought, oh my God, like, what? It felt like I had used, you know? To anyone or go out of my house. And that's the thing, like, if you can, you need to know that you can talk to you can come in to this group and say, I want to get high today, and nobody's going to say, oh my God, I can't believe you want to get high. You guys, just so you know, that's usually what drug addicts want to do, is get high. So it's totally normal. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, the part that we need to work on is just saying, I'm struggling, man, I want to get high today. Or, you know, when I think about using is when I, like, get really down on myself about my weight. I'll think about taking Adipex. And I don't even have a prescription for Adipex, so it would definitely be a relapse. you know, because it's like those speedy medicines. And I think about, oh, if I could just take some Adipex, then I would lose a bunch of weight. You know what I mean? And, but I don't know. I've really gotten to a point where I can come in and make a video about it. And then after I make a video about it and talk with you guys about it, I feel so much better, you know? But I hope you guys know that, like, you can message me on any one of these platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, any one of those platforms, and say, hey, I'm thinking about getting high. And I will drop what I'm doing and call you or send you my phone number. I got a lot. Somebody quit hydros and couldn't talk to anyone. What happened to me was, it was like the worst social anxiety I've ever had. And it goes along with that self-awareness, is I became so aware of, like, how I talked and what I looked like, that I was afraid to talk to anybody. And I had to go to my job and I would just break down crying, you guys, because I felt like everyone was staring at me, because I was so uncomfortable talking with people sober, because I had used drugs for so long that I didn't know how to talk to people without being high. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't have a conversation with people without being under the influence, because I didn't know how to. But I promise you that will pass, and you will learn how to speak and how to socialize without drugs. I thought I would never be able to even be around people without drugs. I thought I had to be high, have fun. I thought I had to be fucked up for people to like me and want to be around me. But y'all, I'm the life of the party now, and I'm sober. Oh, Leah, do you have social anxiety? I'm telling you, when I first got sober, it was really hard for me to talk to anybody, and I would second guess everything. And then somebody pointed out to me that when I get excited, my mouth would move this way. Hey, Randy, we're just talking about relapse prevention and ways to kind of like prevent it from happening. Basically, relapse prevention. I would get so excited that when I would talk, my mouth would go like this to the left. And it still does. If you guys watch me, you'll see it. But somebody pointed it out to me, and I was so afraid to cry. So afraid to talk that I cried. My Instagram is called @NicolePludre. P as in Paul, L-O-U, D as in dog, R-E. All one word, all lowercase. Nicole Pludre. P-L-O-U-D-R-E. So, it was hard, though. And so the longer I stayed sober, though, you guys, and the more I went out and did things with people, like I would go to meetings with my two friends, Heather and Christy, or I would go have coffee with everybody after the meeting, and then sometimes we would go to this little burger joint. The more I did things like that, and I couldn't do it every time because I have a son, but the more times I went out with people, and the more I worked at my job, and the more comfortable I got with everybody. It took me about a year, y'all. And then after my first year, when I started making videos, was after my first year sober. I waited a year, and then I thought, and then in 2017 of December of last year, I started my YouTube channel. But it's all a process. Have fun in the long usage. And I think a lot of men that are, and this is that, I think a lot of gay men, Jason, that are either on pills, either turn into where they stay in their house, like you're saying, all the time, or they're out whoring around. I'm gonna tell you right now, two of my best friends, my best friend Jerry, we grew up together. Like, I mean, like, I'm the first person he came out to. But when he would get messed up and his boyfriend would got hooked on pain pills, he wanted to, like, his boyfriend did the opposite. Like, he wanted to have 3 ways and have different men over all the time and go to all these parties. So it's like they either, like, I know this is from my experience, you guys either like get really reclused or you go balls to the wall. And I was the opposite, and I went balls to the wall and felt like I needed to put myself out there and do everything, you know? And it's just, we all deal with the way we feel about ourselves, because any person in their right mind, you guys, isn't going to use drugs and alcohol and harm themselves like we were. You know, it was because a lot of us, now, tell me this, guys. I used because at first I used because I thought it was cool. And I thought everybody that I was using with, you know, they were using, so it was kind of like the high school thing, you know. But once I started using opiates and methamphetamine, once I started realizing how great meth made me feel because it would make me have so much energy, then I liked to do it, so I would do it because it made me have energy and made me skinny, okay? But I had so much guilt and shame from the things I was doing during my addiction, like having sex with multiple partners or stealing from my family, that I would get high behind all the bad things I was doing. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then I started struggling with like mental health, and so I would use then too. So it was like a whole combination of one thing on top of the next thing on top of the next thing. Right. And that's kind of what happens. I feel like for a lot of us, it's like the addiction starts out all fun and games. And then it gets to a point where it peaks and it's like, wow, this is the sex, drugs, and rock and roll everybody was talking about, right? And then all of a sudden, you just drop from the highest point of your addiction down to the lowest gutter form. And it's like Skid Row. It's like a Skid Row kind of form of you're at the lowest point. It's like you wake up one day and you go, how did I get here? How did I get here? And sometimes I hear people say, oh, well, I never let myself get that bad. And I always have to tell you guys, if you ever say that to me, I will beat your ass. You know why? Because you guys, just give it some time. All those yets, all the things that I said I would never do, I checked them off my list. And I'm not proud of that. But the disease of addiction, it's cunning, baffling, and powerful. And what it does is it makes you forget all those things. It makes you say, oh, I have a kid at home and he needs to be fed dinner tonight. Nah, I'll spend my last $20 on a rock, you know? Or, oh, I just got paid yesterday. I'm almost out of money, but I'll buy those last 6 Percocets. Everything I said I wouldn't do, I got to it. Believe that. And I did it. Things I swore to God I would never, ever do. I will never do that. Oh, no. I did it all. It's really kind of a humbling experience, too, when I look back on it and I think how headstrong I was and how I thought I would never fall into that category. But now I'm off. Right, and I almost feel like we have to do it to make up for something. You know, well, I have to, but we're enough, you guys. Randy, your music is awesome, dude, and you play the guitar kick ass. You don't need to fucking get fucked up to do that. You're awesome at it. You're talented without drugs and alcohol. And I think that's what happens is we don't realize what we got going on, you guys. We're all talented, beautiful, smart, amazing, wonderful human beings. And we don't need that shit to make us any better. But I know that for the longest time, I felt like I needed it. I felt like I needed the boost to be able to do the things I wanted to do or to feel the way I wanted to feel. Here, baby, get up on the bed. You okay? There you go. And, but we don't. You're worthy, and we're all worthy. But you guys have to believe in yourself. Believe that you guys are worth it, and you don't have to do anything to amplify who you are, because who you are is enough. You okay, baby? Right. So, I love you guys. We've been on here for an hour, y'all. This has been a good meeting. I love y'all so much. This has been a really good discussion. And you know what? It took me a long time, y'all, to get to a point to where, and I still struggle. Don't let me don't get it twisted, y'all. I still struggle with my self-image and my self-esteem, but I'm getting better. And that's what we have to do. We got to get better together. You know, we're all the shit without drugs. And like I was saying to Neil the other day, I was like, you know, sober's the new cool. It's not cool to get fucked up anymore, y'all. It's not cool to overdose, you know, and die. I'm so proud of you, Jason. You're doing it, man. Like, you are kicking ass and taking names. Hey, Quentin, what's up, man? Welcome to the family. And that's right. That's what we're here for, you guys. This group that we do in the evenings is especially for if you're struggling with something, put it out there. Put it in the comments. Let everyone know, okay? That's what this group is for. I'm always watching the comments. You guys know that. There's not going to be anybody coming in here saying anything crazy. And if they do, we'll boot them, okay? But I want you guys to feel comfortable. And if you need to talk to me in private, message me. You know how to get a hold of me on Instagram or my email or on Facebook, okay? But this is what I'm here for, y'all. And I'm always going to utilize you guys, so don't even get it twisted. You're never going to get rid of me. You guys are helping me stay sober, and I'm so grateful for y'all. I'm so grateful for you guys. I have not forgot about the giveaway. I'm going to go over to that video today, and I'm going to write down all the names in the comments. I'm going to cut them up into little pieces of paper, and then I'm going to record Nate pulling 2 names out of the hat. Okay, guys? So I will announce that in the morning or something at morning meditation. So be looking for that. And, yeah, I love you guys. What, drugs? I was a methamphetamine, IV methamphetamine and IV roxicodone, Xanax, and alcohol. Thank you, Jason, for being here. And Quentin, you are welcome to come in and hang out with us anytime. Welcome to the family. This is a recovery support channel. We're all drug addicts that are in recovery or trying to get there. And if you haven't got there yet, that's okay too. We're just all here trying to help each other stay sober one day at a time. And yeah, that's what we do over here. So what I do is I go live in the evening at about 6:30, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. And then in the mornings at about 9:30 a.m. Central Standard, I'll get up and I'll do a morning meditation. And then I also sprinkle in story times of my old addiction life, and then just story times that I think of from, you know, just life in general and stuff like that. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing, you know, on this channel. But tomorrow, you guys, I'll be up in the morning at about 9:30 a.m. Central Standard for the meditation. I love you guys so much. And yeah, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.